At 13, I stood barefoot in the freezing rain. My stepmom slammed the door in my face and told me I wasn't welcome anymore. No warning, no goodbye, just a cold sentence and a closed door. I didn't understand what I had done. I begged, I knocked, I cried. She ignored everything. I had no coat, no phone, no money, nothing. Just the cold wind and the sound of that door clicking shut behind me. She said my dad had left for good, but deep inside, I knew something was wrong. My father loved me. He would never just disappear like that. I stood there for hours. Every minute felt heavier than the last. The rain soaked me through, but the cold inside me came from something else, something darker. That night, I sat on the sidewalk, hugging my knees, watching that house. I didn't want back in, not anymore. I didn't want her to open the door. I wanted more than that. I wanted to take everything from her, like she took everything from me. People passed by, some stared, but no one stopped. I wasn't just cold, I felt invisible. That's when the thought hit me. If no one's coming to help, I'll help myself. I promised myself right there, I'll come back. Not to knock, but to own that house. To stand in front of that same door, not as a helpless kid, but as someone who controls everything on the other side of it. That was the beginning of everything. Not just of revenge, but of something bigger. She wanted to throw me away like I was nothing, but all she did was light a fire that would never go out. I had no home, no food, and no plan, but I had anger, I had pain, and I had time. She thought it was over, but for me, that rainy night was just the start. I walked for hours that night, not knowing where to go. My clothes were soaked, and my feet were sore from walking barefoot on cold, wet pavement. I felt lost, but I kept moving. Then I saw a small diner with lights still on. The smell of food hit me, and my stomach twisted in pain. I didn't dare go inside, so I sat behind the building near the dumpster. It wasn't warm or clean, but it gave me a place to rest. While I sat there, trying not to cry again, a cook came out with trash. He looked at me, then paused. I thought he would yell or tell me to leave, but instead, he handed me a paper bag with warm food inside. "You look like you need this," he said. I nodded and whispered a thank you. I ate slowly. The food wasn't fancy, but it tasted like hope. It was the first act of kindness I had seen all day. Later, someone else showed up. An older man with a long grey beard and a rough voice. He sat near me, pulling a blanket made of cardboard over his legs. He didn't ask questions at first. He just nodded at me like he understood. I found out his name was Gabe. He had lived on the streets for years. His eyes looked tired but sharp, like he had seen too much and forgotten even more. He looked at me for a while before saying something strange. "You're not the first kid she's thrown out," he said. I froze. I hadn't told him anything about my stepmom. I asked him what he meant, and he told me that over the years, he had seen more than one kid end up out here because of her. Same house, same story, different faces. That moment changed something in me. It wasn't just about me anymore. If she had done this before, how many others had she hurt? I started asking quiet questions. I listened more than I spoke. Some people knew her, remembered kids that came and went. Little by little, I started to see the bigger picture. It wasn't just a bad night. It was a pattern. I wasn't a one-time mistake. I was part of something worse. That night behind the diner wasn't just a place to sleep. It was the start of something. I began to understand who I was dealing with, and I knew I couldn't let her keep doing this. I didn't know how yet, but one day I would use everything she tried to hide and bring it all out into the light. A few days passed before I got the courage to go near the house again. I didn't want to be seen, so I waited until it was late and dark. I stayed in the shadows, moving slowly, step by step, careful not to make a sound. I didn't plan to knock. I only wanted to watch, maybe find something she didn't want me to see. That night, I saw smoke rising from the backyard. I moved closer and saw her standing over a metal barrel. Flames were high, and she kept feeding papers into it. She looked nervous, like she was trying to get rid of something fast. I stayed low and watched. I didn't understand why, but I knew this wasn't normal. When she went back inside for a moment, I rushed forward. The heat from the fire hit my face, but I reached in and grabbed what I could. Most of it was ash, but one piece was still half there. The edges were black, but the middle had clear words. It was a letter. I knew that handwriting. It was my dad's. My hands shook as I read the first line. "If something happens to me." I didn't need to read more. That one line told me enough. My dad didn't leave. Something happened to him, and she knew. That's why she wanted to destroy this. She wanted no one to ever find out. But now I knew. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. She had lied to me, thrown me out, and tried to erase him like he never existed. I folded the half-burnt letter and hid it in my shirt. I ran before she came back out. My mind was full of questions, but one thing was clear. I wasn't just a kid who got kicked out. I was a kid whose father might have been silenced. And now, I had a small piece of proof. I found a quiet place to sit and think. That letter wasn't the end. It was the start. If she was hiding this, then there had to be more. I told myself I would find every piece, no matter how long it took. I wouldn't let her win. I would uncover the truth, not just for me, but for my dad. She thought she had buried it all, but I had seen through the smoke, and I wasn't going to stop until the world saw it too. After everything I had been through, I knew I couldn't use my real name anymore. I needed to stay hidden, at least until I understood what I was dealing with. So, when I entered the foster system, I gave them a different name. It felt strange at first, but it gave me safety. It gave me space to move without her ever knowing where I was or what I was doing. Life in the system wasn't easy. I stayed quiet, did what I had to do, and kept my head down. I didn't complain. Instead, I looked for jobs. Any job. Cleaning floors, stacking boxes, running errands, whatever paid. I saved every coin, skipped things other kids enjoyed, and focused on one thing, the bigger picture. I knew money would help me one day, so I didn't waste it. Every dollar I earned went into a box I hid under my bed. When I wasn't working, I spent time at the library, not to read for fun, but to learn. I picked up books about law, rights, family, and everything in between. I didn't always understand the words, but I kept reading until I did. Page by page, I began to figure things out. I wanted to know what she had done, and more importantly, how to prove it. As I got older, I started asking people questions, quietly, carefully. I searched for names my dad had once mentioned. I didn't always get answers, but I kept trying. After months of looking, I finally found someone, an old friend of my father's. He was shocked to see me and thought I had moved away. I told him little, just enough to make him talk. Then he said something I wasn't ready for. "Your dad once told me he thought she was dangerous." That sentence hit me hard. It wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was something my dad had actually said. It gave weight to all the questions I had been carrying. If he knew something, if he feared her, then maybe what happened to him wasn't an accident. From there, I started building a timeline. When they got married, when my dad changed, when he stopped seeing friends, when he disappeared. But the more I put things together, the more it felt wrong. Things didn't line up. Dates didn't match her story. People remembered things differently. I knew I was getting close to something big, and once I had all the pieces, I was going to put them in front of the world. I waited until the house was empty. I had watched it for weeks, learning her routine, waiting for the right moment. I was 17 now, sharper, quieter, more focused. When the time came, I slipped through the back without a sound. The smell, the walls, the air. It all felt like a bad memory, but I wasn't here to remember. I was here for answers. I moved straight to the basement. It was cold and dusty, like no one had been down there for a long time. I took out the notes I had made from things my dad once said. Tiny clues I remembered from years ago. There was something hidden here. I was sure of it. I tapped along the floor, listened for hollow spots, and finally found one near the back corner. I pulled up the boards, one by one, until I saw metal, a small safe. No one else knew it existed. I used a tool I had brought and worked slowly. After a few tries, it opened. Inside were papers and a flash drive. I took everything out carefully. The papers were medical records. His, not hers. They showed health issues, checkups, warnings, but that wasn't all. There was also a document with a signature, his name and mine. It clearly said I was the heir. It felt unreal. While she had told everyone I was nothing, here was proof that my dad had trusted me with everything. But the flash drive, that was different. I took it with me and found a place to watch what was on it. There was one video. My dad sat in a chair, looking tired but serious. He said, "If this gets to my son, then I didn't make it." He spoke slowly, telling me things he was afraid to say when he was alive, that he had doubts, that he felt something was wrong, that he had started to gather evidence, but never got the chance to finish. Hearing his voice broke something in me. It made everything real. It wasn't just about how she treated me anymore. It was about what she had done to him. My dad didn't vanish. He was silenced. And now, with what I found, I had a way to show it. This wasn't about getting back at her just to hurt her. It was about truth, about making sure the lies didn't win. I wasn't going to let this stay buried. Not anymore. I knew I couldn't face her directly. Not yet. So I chose another path, one that let me stay hidden, but still close. I created a fake name online, someone successful and professional. I made him look like a real estate agent with a clean smile and big offers. Then I contacted her. I told her I was interested in buying the house. Not just interested, I offered her double the price. She didn't trust it at first, but money has a way of changing people's minds. She started replying, asking questions, sounding unsure but tempted. I kept the game going, acting polite, patient, and serious. While she thought I was just a buyer, I was watching every reaction. Every hesitation told me she was starting to feel the pressure, but I didn't stop there. I began sending fake letters to her mailbox, legal-looking papers that warned her of upcoming inspections or zoning changes. I printed notices that made it seem like the property was under review for possible demolition. One by one, I built a world around her that felt like it was crumbling. She started asking neighbors odd questions, wondering why things were happening around her house but not theirs. I spread quiet rumors in the area through fake profiles and random conversations. Whispers that her house had a dark history, that someone died there, that it was cursed. It wasn't true, but the fear in her eyes said she believed it. Lights in her house would flicker, doors would creak. Nothing serious, but just enough to make her jump. I'd wait outside some nights, tapping lightly on windows or dropping small stones on the roof. It made her check and double-check everything, but no one was ever there, just her and her guilt. She started sleeping with lights on, called repairmen, but they found nothing. She stopped answering my fake real estate emails, then suddenly wrote again, begging to sell the house. She wanted to get out, fast. She said something felt wrong, like the house didn't want her there, but it wasn't the house, it was me. From behind a screen and through printed paper, I had become a ghost in her life. She didn't know who was doing it or why, and that was the point. I didn't want revenge that was loud or violent. I wanted her to feel the silence I once felt, the fear of being alone, the confusion of not knowing who to trust. Every feeling she gave me, I gave back, without ever showing my face. The time had come to take my first real step out of the shadows. I wasn't a scared boy anymore. I was ready, and I had everything I needed. Proof, papers, and the truth, so I filed a lawsuit. I didn't tell anyone. No warning, no loud noise. Just a quiet, simple letter delivered to her mailbox. The kind of letter that changes everything. She didn't expect it. Not from me. She probably thought I had vanished forever, forgotten by the world just like she wanted. But the moment she saw the name on those documents and realized what they meant, panic set in. I could almost hear it. Her past was finally catching up to her. She got herself a lawyer, someone expensive, someone who probably promised her that it would all go away. But no matter how hard they tried, every single page of evidence was real and solid. The signed papers naming me the heir, the trust account that was linked to my father's name, and the recording that proved she had something to hide. It all added up. There was nothing they could twist. But I didn't stop at documents. I reached out to people who knew her, people who had once been scared to speak. I gave them courage and a reason to talk. One by one, they stepped forward. Neighbors, old family friends, even someone from her workplace. They all had stories. Stories of lies, of strange behavior, of how she always made sure people stayed quiet. The more they spoke, the more her image fell apart. She tried to smile in court, tried to act like none of it mattered. But the judge could see through it. Everyone could. Her voice shook when she talked. Her hands wouldn't stop moving. She knew she was losing. I stayed calm. I said only what I needed to. I let the facts do the work. No anger, no shouting, just truth. The courtroom was full of whispers. People stared at her, not with fear or respect, but with disgust. And every time someone else took the stand to speak against her, she shrank a little more. She had built her life on lies. Now those lies were falling apart piece by piece, and I was the one tearing them down, not with hate, but with justice. All the pain she caused was finally being answered, and this time, she couldn't shut the door. Cameras were outside the courthouse. Reporters waited with mics, flashing lights going off every few seconds. My story had finally reached the public. Headlines were everywhere. People were talking about her. The woman who once smiled like she was innocent now stood with her head low, trying to hide from the world. She couldn't run anymore. The court session was open to all. Strangers came and filled the seats. Some just wanted drama. Some were shocked by the truth coming out. I didn't care why they came. I was there for one thing only, The judge sat with the flash drive in front of him. The room went silent when he played it. My father's voice came through the speakers, calm, serious, but full of fear. He said clearly, "If this gets to my son, then I didn't make it." The whole room froze. The judge paused it, took off his glasses, and looked directly at her. She looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. There was no denying it now. The voice was real. The warning was clear. That moment changed everything. The judge didn't waste time. He declared that all rights to the estate belonged to me. The house, the land, the funds, everything. The court ruled that she had forged documents, lied to authorities, and tried to steal what wasn't hers. Her lawyer stayed quiet. Even he knew it was over. But she didn't. She stood up, screamed, and shouted at the judge. She pointed at me, eyes full of rage, and yelled, "He was supposed to disappear." Her voice cracked as security moved in to hold her back. The whole room watched as she was handcuffed and taken away, not in silence, not with dignity, but loud, broken, and exposed. I didn't smile. I didn't cheer. I just watched. All those nights alone, all the pain, all the hunger, it brought me here. I didn't need revenge with fire or violence. I had something stronger, proof, truth, and a voice that couldn't be ignored anymore. After the trial, people I'd never met came up to me. Some apologized. Some cried. Some said they were proud of me, but none of that really mattered. What mattered was that I had cleared my father's name and stood up for myself. She wanted me gone forever. Instead, I stood in front of the world, stronger than ever, and she was the one who vanished. At 23, I had everything I once dreamed of. No, more than that. I didn't just take back the house where I was thrown out. I bought every single property on that street. The same street where I once stood alone and unwanted was now mine. Each building had a purpose. Some were homes, some were centers to help others, and one was something very close to my heart, a shelter for kids who had been through what I had faced. I named the shelter something simple but powerful. On the front gate, a sign hung with big, clear words. "Everyone is welcome here." No locked doors, no silence, no fake smiles, just warmth, food, and a place to feel safe. Every child who stepped in knew they mattered. I made sure of that. People from the area began to notice the changes. It wasn't the same street anymore. The lights were brighter, the noise was kinder, and the houses looked alive. Some neighbors walked up to me slowly, unsure of what to say. They started with awkward smiles, then their eyes dropped as they said, "We didn't know. We thought she was kind. We're sorry." I listened. I didn't shout or turn away. I nodded, shook hands, and thanked them. But inside, the memory of that cold, rainy night stayed with me. I hadn't forgotten, and I never would. Money didn't change me. It gave me tools. Power didn't make me cruel. It gave me chances to do better. I wasn't here to scare anyone or show off. I was here to fix what had once been broken. I gave jobs to people who needed them. I opened doors for kids with no family. I paid for school books, food, and warm clothes. I sat with them, told stories, and let them talk without fear. Sometimes at night, I stood outside the shelter and looked at the house where it all began. It was quiet now. No shouting, no slamming doors, just bricks and memories. And every time I looked at it, I reminded myself, I didn't win by fighting like her. I won by never giving up. I took pain and turned it into something real, something good. The boy who once had nothing now gave everything he could. And in the heart of the same street that once pushed me away, I built a place that would never do that to anyone again. It was a quiet evening. The sky was calm, and a soft wind moved through the trees. I stood at the front door of the house, the same house where everything began. Inside, kids were laughing, eating, and living the life they deserved. The shelter was full of warmth and peace. Then I saw her. She walked slowly down the street, older, weaker, and no longer full of pride. Her clothes were worn, her eyes tired. She looked at the house like it was a dream, like it didn't belong to me, like maybe, just maybe, she still had a place in it. She stepped closer. Her eyes scanned the porch, then met mine. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. She opened her mouth and said softly, "Can I just come in for a second?" I stood straight, looked her right in the eye, and said the words I had once heard from her. "You're not welcome." She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just stood there for a moment, lost and small. Then she turned around and walked away, down the same path she had pushed me out of years ago. I closed the door, not with hate, but with peace. That chapter was over. There was nothing more to say. Some doors should stay closed, not out of anger, but because they were never meant to open again. Do you think I did the right thing by turning her away? Or should I have let her in just for a moment? Was shutting that door justice? Or just another form of revenge? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to hear your thoughts. And if stories like this speak to you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss what comes next.